Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a really pivotal moment in technology, the search for, well, the fundamental blueprints of AI engineering. We're talking about going from chaos to code, trying to nail down the rules that are going to define an entire industry for decades. It's a big deal.
You know, it really wasn't that long ago that if you said you were an AI engineer, you might have gotten a few weird looks. As conference organizer Swix put it, the job was seen as this kind of low-status niche, mostly just building simple GPT wrappers.
But wow, that time is so over. Now the folks building AI are moving way beyond those simple apps. They're on this quest, right? A quest for the foundational principles, the repeatable patterns that are going to turn AI development from like a quirky art form into a truly robust engineering discipline.
Okay, so let's really dive into this new frontier. We're going to track that evolution because we're talking about a field that went from some quiet little corner of the tech world to its absolute epicenter. And it feels like it happened overnight. And you can actually see this insane growth just by looking at the focus of the industry's big conference each year. I mean, think about it. In 2023, the whole conversation was about figuring out the different types of AI engineers. Just 1 year later, in 2024, the field's already becoming multidisciplinary. And for 2025, the cutting edge is all about building AI agents. The pace of change it's just staggering.
Right, so here's the thing. With all this explosive growth comes a huge, messy problem. It's chaos, really. There are no agreed-upon rules or blueprints. Imagine everyone trying to build a skyscraper, but they all have different plans and different materials. That's kind of where we are. Everyone's building, but they're all doing it differently, and that makes progress unpredictable and really hard to scale.
And the stakes here are so incredibly high that people are making this really bold comparison. They're saying this is like the legendary 1927 Solvay conference. I mean, that's where giants like Einstein and Marie Curie basically laid out the rules for quantum mechanics for the next 100 years. The feeling is that AI engineering needs its own Solvay moment to define its future, and it needs it like yesterday.
So let's think about the core challenge here. With traditional software, you've got the shared language, right? Established patterns like MVC or CRUD that pretty much every developer knows and uses. It's predictable. But AI engineering? Oh, it's still the Wild West. For sure, it's exciting, it's experimental, but it's also chaotic. It's missing that solid, shared foundation.
And that brings us right to the heart of it, the central question. What's going to be the standard model for AI engineering? What are the reliable go-to patterns for this new world that will let everyone build powerful, predictable, and scalable stuff?
All right, so let's talk about the contenders. What are some of the early candidates for this standard model actually looking like? And it's important to remember, these aren't just, boring technical diagrams. They really represent different philosophies for how you even approach building with AI.
And there are a few leading ideas already emerging. So one is this concept of the Language Model Operating System, the LMOS. This basically treats the AI as a whole new kind of computer that you build your apps on top of. Then there's the LM Software Development Lifecycle, which is trying to create a totally new process for building and testing AI, because the old ways just don't fit. And a third one is the Effective Agent Model, which is all about finding the core repeatable parts of any successful AI agent.
But you know what? Sometimes the best theories don't come from a whiteboard session. They pop up from the messy reality of actually building something real and useful. And that is exactly how a powerful new pattern called SPADE was discovered.
And this idea gives us a much simpler way to think about all this. Instead of getting bogged down in arguments about complex terms like, is it an agent or is it a workflow? Who cares? This offers a much simpler yardstick. Just track the ratio of human input to valuable AI output. In other words, how much work do you have to put in to get some magic out? That ratio, that's the key.
And you can really see that ratio evolving over time. We started with copilots, where a little bit of input gets you a little bit of output. Super helpful, but a low ratio. Then came things like ChatGPT, where you ask a full question and get a full answer back, a medium ratio. But now we've got reasoning agents, where one single simple prompt can kick off a massive amount of valuable work. That output ratio is just skyrocketing.
This whole journey actually led to a popular tool called AI News. And the creator had this hilarious way of describing the early version. He said it was like 3 kids in a trench coat, just a messy collection of separate scripts all pretending to be one sophisticated system.
He realized he'd basically built the same core logic 3 separate times for 3 different sources.
But by recognizing that he was just repeating the same process over and over, a clear 5-step pattern started to emerge from all that chaos. First, you sync data from lots of sources. Then, you plan and structure it. Next, you analyze it, basically crunching all that data down to one core insight. Then, you deliver that insight to the user. And finally, and this is crucial, you evaluate the output to see how good it was. And what do you know? Those steps conveniently form the acronym SPADE, SPADE.
So as we start to wrap up, it's clear that SPADE is a perfect example of a powerful pattern that came from practice, not just theory. It's an absolutely fantastic candidate for a standard model, but, and this is the key thing to remember, it's just one candidate. The search is still very much on. And honestly, that's what makes this whole thing so incredibly exciting. This standard model isn't being decided in some closed-off room by a handful of people. No way. It's being built and debated and defined right now in real time by thousands of engineers all over the world. We're not just watching history being made. We are smack in the middle of it.
And that brings the question right back to everyone building in this space, or even just watching it. This isn't just for the so-called experts. The fundamental rules of AI, they're being written as we speak. So really, the only question left is, what foundational ideas and standard models will you use to help build our AI future?